everyone. Let's try that again. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, and welcome to the City of Daly City Planning Commission meeting of May 2nd, 2023. So today, we'd like to stand. Would you like to start the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So let us proceed with the administration of oath of office.
Good evening, Chair Perano, Commissioner Paniza, and Commissioner Satori. It's my honor tonight to present to you your now new Commissioner, Teresa Fa'apua. First, let me begin by telling you, because she doesn't like to talk about herself, but we have here tonight, let me begin by Honorable Ken. He's from the town of Colma. Former County Commissioner, Christine, former JESD board member, and BPAC, as we know, Clayton Koo. I recognize all those in the audience for being here tonight. Teresa Fa'apua has been in our community. I know, she doesn't want me to say anything, but those of us who know her that are here tonight know that she's been a staple in our community and a staple for inclusion. Not only just is she, because she's a part of the Pacific Islands Together, who they just do the annual food drive or the once-a-month food drive, but every day. She serves in our Bayshore School District as Bayshore School District trustee. She's always in our community. She's former library trustee. But when you don't even see her then, she works in childcare, and she serves humbly and gracefully, never boastfully, but gives of herself to everyone, no matter where they come from, what culture they are, and who they are. And I think all of us have experienced it, and most of you have known her. So it's my honor to administrate the oath to your new commissioner, Teresa Fa'apua, tonight, who I wish nothing but the best for the board. And thank you for serving the city of Daly City, to all of you, with your grace and your intelligence and advisory to us, the council. So I appreciate it. So with that, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I say your name.
I, Teresa Fa'apua,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitutions of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties that I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. And I do want to add one thing. When there's a momentous moment in our city, I want to say that she will be the first Samoan woman serving in this capacity as planning commissioner. And she is chief, just become chief in her own Samoa, so with her family heritage. So to me, those are things to celebrate, as we all come from different cultures, and that's what makes Daly City what it is. So thank you. Would you like to say something?
Oh, I see my friends. Thank you, Councilwoman Pamela DiGiovanni, for this great opportunity and be able to have me as your appointee to serve for the Planning Commissioners. Coming from the library's trustees, it's a lot different than what I'm walking into. So I just want to ask humbly to please bear with me, to share with me the knowledge I know that there are some veterans sitting with us today to teach me what to do and tell me what to do, and I will humbly do it and serve with you guys, alongside with you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for all my friends who are here today. Thank you so much.
Are you on?
Your Honor, we would like to welcome the newly installed. Madam Chairman, I would like to welcome our new Planning Commissioner of Daly City, Teresa Papua. Hopefully that you can share with us for the growth and development of the city without fear or any reservation. With this, I would like to say congratulations. You will be an addition to us. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to say, if you have a question, always ask, because we're here in the capacity so that we ask questions for the residents, so that if you have a question or something doesn't make sense, don't worry, just ask. Okay? Welcome.
Will do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I just want to say welcome to the commission. I'm also fairly new. I joined or appointed in February, so we're in the same boat. Don't worry. Don't be nervous.
Thank you.
Good practice. Yeah.
So here we go. So with that, let's have the roll call. Oh, wait, before we do that, do you guys want a picture, everybody up here? Or should we do it? Oh, then they'd have to wait till, can they just do it?
Yeah, we have a long agenda.
Yeah, I don't want them to be here late. So if you'd like to take a photograph at this time, right? If not, you're going to stay all night with us.
Teresa?
How you doing?
All right.
Polynesian.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all
Thank you to the public.
for bearing with us.
Thank you. Over to the Russian.
Thank you for your patience. It's a special day.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, you're good. Okay. So at this time, we'll have a roll call.
Thing. Fa'apua,
Here.
Paniza,
Here.
Satori,
Present.
Proano.
Here. And next, I'd like approval of the minutes of March 7th.
I so move.
Approve. Or second, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll move on to the public hearing. So at this time, Michael will be presenting the general plan consistency. Am I correct? Something seems different. Oh, here we go. For fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025 capital improvement program. Government Code Section 65103 requires that a city's Planning Commission review the city's capital improvement program and certify that it is consistent with the city's adopted general plan. State law further requires that capital improvement programs be reviewed annually by the Planning Commission for the local jurisdiction for consistency with the general plan, and that the recommendations regarding the CIP and general plan consistency be forwarded to the City Council. Michael?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Perano. This is a request by the city's Public Works Department to find the proposed CIP list of projects consistent with the city's general plan. The proposed list is on the screen. The Planning Commission is not approving the CIP itself, but merely finding that the proposed projects are consistent with our general plan, and in so far as they implement the city's general plan. The city staff, the city planning division staff has reviewed the list of projects and has found them consistent and is recommending that the Planning Commission do the same. If planning commissioners have any questions for either Public Works staff or staff from the Department of Water and Wastewater Resources, staff from those departments are available to answer any questions for you.
Well, I do have a question. I'm noticing that the sidewalks in the city of Daly City, many which had already been retrofitted with the plastic yellow dots, right? Some of those are being torn up and just made just a little bigger. And I'm just curious on why that is being, aha, it's you. Why that's being done before others didn't even get touched. And I'm personally experienced it on my block where I live, and I'm just curious why this is probably the third time on my block.
Yes, thank you. So typically, our curb ramps, they are required to meet ADA standards and requirements. Those standards do change over time. And typically, when we do a project, whether it be like a paving type project, doing a street resurfacing type projects, or doing some type of crosswalk improvements, we are required to incorporate the curb ramps at that same time. So if we get some funding or we're doing some other type of paving projects, that would trigger the requirement to also update the curb ramps to the most current standards. And so that's some of the reasons why those ramps kind of get removed and have to be redone. It's because the requirements have changed over time.
So when I see mine, which was done, within the last few years, and you're doing it again, and it doesn't look much different. So what is the requirement? Did it get a little wider? Did it have to, what's the change?
Some of the changes is due to slopes, the slope of the ramp itself. There are width requirements, but what we found for the most part is it's a slope issue, and then also the landing behind it. Sometimes that creates some modifications that's needed.
Okay, and I'm just going to assume that you've done all the ones in the city, and then that's why you came back and we're getting ours done? Or are there certain ones where they have a bigger slope, and that's why maybe you've come back quicker? I'm just curious.
It's a great question, and there are some ramps in the city that are older, that need more updating. However, we have kind of two programs. We have a program that's just ramps by itself, but we also have a program for our pavement management system for the streets. And so if the street needs to be redone, then the requirement is that we are forced to do the upgrades to the curb ramp at the same time. Even if we would rather use that money to do another ramp, we're not able to do so. It's a requirement that we're forced to do. And so sometimes that throws things kind of out of sequence. But again, we have a separate projects that are just curb ramp specific, and those typically go for the ones that need it the most or that hasn't been touched for many years. So that's, some of the issues that we deal with that kind of make it look like the sequencing is doesn't.
Well, I'd like to thank you because it was the burning question on in the neighborhood. It just happened to be a great time to ask. So thank you for
Sure.
explaining that.
You're
I'll
very
pass
welcome.
I'll pass that on.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? One moment. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, good evening. My question is about the so-called, what's this, Missouri Street. Are you covered with that? Is the city covering that for maintenance? From San Pedro up to the top of the hill, Missouri Street?
So in terms of Mission Street, there's the section of Mission Street, San Pedro to top of the hill, that is Caltrans right-of-way, Caltrans responsibility.
Is it possible that we can request the Caltrans to at least to maintain that room, that portion of that, because that is supposedly the main street of Daly City, but it's a little bit crooked. It's a little bit, I would say, the road is not smooth.
Yes,
So if we can probably address that and request the director of the Caltrans in San Diego to help us.
Yes, I agree 100%.
That's only my.
No, it's
because,
great.
Because
We had that conversation.
that is supposedly the main street of Daly City. It is supposedly a grand boulevard, but it was stopped because of the so-called our.
Caltrans.
No. There is supposedly a. You remember that, Mike, right? The Grand Boulevard to improve that street, that main street, that's Mission Street, but it was stopped. So can we just resuscitate it and see to it that this is maintained?
Yes, definitely. The Grand Boulevard initiative, that is a big plan. One of the issues with that is that there wasn't funding that went along with it. So it just kind of depends on being able to find funding. But as far as the maintenance goes, yes, we do reach out to Caltrans and request.
You can call it Caltrans. The director of Caltrans is very, very amiable. I know him.
So piggybacking on that, why, I understand in the old days, we didn't have the freeway, and we had Alamany, and we just had Mission Street, and that was the main thoroughfare. And so that would make sense that was Caltrans. But why hasn't the city of Daly City asked for it? Why don't we just, is it, I know it can't be that simple, right? But why don't we get it back? And then when we need the sign that says no U-turn, right before you at El Camino, heading south, right near Bank of America, and that fell down years ago, and they can't replace it, so everybody keeps making a U-turn when you're coming around, and, you want to say, there's no U-turn there, but there's no sign. So why can't we, the city of Daly City, ask the state to give it back? Or not give it back, but give it to the city of Daly
No,
City?
it's the funding. The funding, the Caltrans is the funding.
But they don't want it.
It's easy to say, get it back, but how do we?
Well, I
How
don't
do
know.
we get it?
You
No.
guys know better than
It
us.
doesn't work that way, Madam Chair.
Yeah, right now, Caltrans has El Camino Real Highway,
Yeah.
State Highway 82. Mission Street is an extension of that, part of that state highway. And so at this moment, it is Caltrans. I don't see them giving it up unless there's some big initiative amongst many jurisdictions to do that. But one thing to keep in mind is along with maintenance responsibility comes additional liability, maintenance cost. We're having some challenges just trying to maintain our own streets that we currently have. And bringing more into our own inventory will create additional challenges in terms of our ability to have funding to maintain additional roadways, and also along with that comes additional liability concerns.
When I made a phone call,
Chairman.
one second, when I made a phone call to Caltrans about the signs that were missing, they told me they had one person doing all this work, and that's why it couldn't get done. So that's why I was asking, because, I understand that there's liability, but if you don't have the right signs out there, there is also another liability, somebody can get hurt.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone's having challenges. Oftentimes, if there's something kind of, super urgent, imminent, we do kind of work with, our police folks, fire, and they've got some good contacts with Caltrans in terms of something that's very urgent,
Yeah.
things that,
I understand. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Actually, Madam Chairman, you talk of federal freeway, state highway, and then the city way. So there are various ways of dealing with it. You cannot say we want to take it, but the funding is in the state. We cannot have that way. So we have to be knowledgeable about what is the number. 84 is supposedly Caltrans. 280 is supposedly federal, something like that. So you have to specify.
No, I understand, but
My
since
only
it's
request
going
is
through our
if you can
city,
probably, the 84 can be, we can request the Caltrans to at least to maintain it properly, because just take a look at what I'm saying. Just at the corner of it's there's a I would say it's crooked really. It's not smooth.
yes.
I don't want to say the right word.
I
we get
understand.
it.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for answering those questions.
my
Thank you.
pleasure.
And I would like also, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
to acknowledge the presence of the Waste and Water Work Director here. So, thank you.
Yeah, water, wastewater, they also have projects as part of the
And-
CIP, so if there's any questions, they're here to help answer.
Thank you very
those.
much.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions with regards to the proposed projects that are on our list?
No question.
Anybody? Are we good? So I'm going to pass it back to you.
Yes, so the Planning Commission needs to vote to find the list consistent with the city's general plan.
Very good. So I'd like, well, first of all, do we need to open that to public?
Oh, yes.
Only because I see so many public here today. Does anyone have any questions? No one gave any cards? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing. May I have a motion for that?
So, moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so at this point, let us vote and to see if we recommend that the Planning Commission, I put my glasses back on, I'm like, everything's not clear. Oh, there we go. The Planning Commission find the CIP consistent with the city's general plan. Staff is available to provide any additional information desired by the Planning Commissioners. So I guess at this time, we'd like to see if we vote, to see if we recommend. May I have a motion, please?
I motion.
You want, okay,
second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we all have voted. Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move forward. And Michael, it is you again. Coastal Development Permit CDP 0423161189. It's a request by the City of Daly City, conduct maintenance at the seawall revetment and access road repair at Muscle Rock Landfill, Daly City, 150 West Line Drive. The project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, pursuant to CEQA guidelines, Section 15301D, restoration of damaged structures. Michael?
Thank you again, Commissioner Perano. This is a request by the City of Daly City to conduct what are fairly regular type of maintenance activities at Muscle Rock Landfill. As the Planning Commission may be aware in its hearings on this sort of an item before, Muscle Rock is a landfill site. It's been closed since the 1970s, and the city needs to conduct regular maintenance there from time to time. This type of maintenance requires that the city issue a coastal development permit to itself, and this is the reason for tonight's hearing. This is the location of the site, of course, the Pacific Ocean at the south side of the city, at the old Muscle Rock landfill site. I think we all know where that is. Proposed site maintenance improvements include repair and stabilization of existing seawall revetment that have been damaged by ongoing wave action, repair of the west edge of the seawall access road. This repair would not extend or expand the access road itself in its current configuration. We have some photographs to show you what that means. The project does include placing granular aggregate base on top of the revetment as it intersects the west edge of the seawall access road to restore that road surface to its working condition and fill voids at the top of the revetment wall. This is a map of the maintenance plan. It was included and attached to your staff report. It shows the areas of the work to be undertaken. The top of the map is east and left is north, right south, just to orient the Planning Commission. So again, all of this work basically occurs at the water's edge inside the city of Daly City. The city's Public Works Department is also making a coastal development permit application to the Coastal Commission for this work because this is required pursuant to the Coastal Act. Here's some site photos showing the condition of the seawall that would undergo repair. As the photo shows, part of the seawall has been undermined by wave action coming from the ocean. Over time, this wave action undermines the roadway and it needs to be maintained. And that is the work that would be undertaken as part of the CDP permit that's issued. Here are just more site photos of that. The rocks on the right side are riprap that have been placed by the city to basically work against the wave action, but of course they can only do so much, and the waves hitting this over and over and over do take a toll on that road and needs to be maintained. Here's a photo of the same thing, essentially looking to the north. This is the, just to orient the Planning Commission, of course, this is the landfill site. It's been buried in earth. And this is the, essentially the bluff that lies beneath essentially the Westlake Palisades neighborhood, just to give some orientation. And again, this is that, the access road bed that's been undermined by wave action, as can be seen here. The Planning Commission is required to make findings consistent with the city's local coastal program, and there are 6 findings. I won't read through each of them. They're included in your staff report, but essentially the work that's being undertaken would have no adverse impacts on the environment. In fact, it's necessary to keep the landfill that exists there intact in its current state, not, of course, spill into the ocean. So it's a very important type of work that we're undertaking. The project's exempt from CEQA. The Planning Commission is recommended by the city staff to affirm the environmental assessment, adopt the findings, and approve the coastal development permit, recommending that to the City Council. If there's any questions, the planning staff's available, as well as the engineering public works staff is also available to answer any questions you have.
So at this time, I'm looking towards my fellow commissioners. Do we have any questions with regards to the work that needs to be done?
I have a question,
Go for it.
as always. Well, Your Honor, after the so-called several typhoons that we have the past few months, do you think the seawall was damaged, or was there any damages that, or the city will have to increase their budget for these maintenance activities?
We're going to have public works staff answer that question for you, Commissioner Satori.
Commissioners, so Mike Burnfield with engineering. So we actually had a recent seawall monitoring report submitted. Oh, I'm sorry. We had a recent seawall monitoring report submitted, and we had a similar maintenance project back in 2017, and that actually held up due to, that held up to the recent storms. And a very similar riprap will be installed as part of this project.
So you don't need any more budgetary allocation to improve the seawall?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
Nothing else, Mr.
Anybody else?
Just to be clear, we are kind of doing it in phases. We're using more larger rocks, more heavy-duty rocks, but currently that's not throughout the entire seawall. So we'll have to monitor it as time goes on But this is kind of a not, kind of a routine thing where every so often you have to come back and put some additional rock.
And this is a pathway, not, vehicles don't go down that way, do they?
Maintenance vehicles use
Your
that,
meat, yeah,
yes.
but it's safe.
People use it just for hiking and stuff, but
Okay.
we use it for maintenance
Okay.
purposes, yeah.
Okay. I think that's good. Any other questions?
I have
You
a
okay?
lot of questions, but.
Oh,
that's
go
okay.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
You know, to the engineers, you know, this is a coastal line wherein every year there is a 2 inch being eroded by the soil erosion in that area. Are you not asking the Department of Public Highways, Public Works, just like they did in San Diego? They put a lot of rocks, big rocks along the coastline. Do you intend to do that or just let it go as it go?
So this section.
I'm just looking forward on that.
Yeah, for the lower landfill area, there is the existing revetment with the large rocks. Further north, there isn't currently. And there are some additional erosion that's going on there. So we are kind of working on a plan and having discussions with the Coastal Commission in terms of what they will allow us to do and what they won't allow us to do. Typically, Coastal Commission does not like to have additional rock placed where there didn't used to be, and so that might be a big challenge. But we are kind of working on the northern section where there is no rock protection at the moment.
Because in the next, if we are still alive, 100 years, there will be a lot of setback going to those houses. I'm pretty sure of that. So if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to do some remedial measures on that, probably you will find a lot of houses collapsing in that area.
Yeah, and that's the main concern in regards to the northern section where there is no protection. And we are in the process of working with Coastal Commission, Regional Board, to protect our own landfill. And then even further back would be the houses. So that's in progress right now in terms of what we can do, what the Coastal Commission will allow us to do in terms of armoring or protecting that section.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. So at this time, just checking, any other questions here? We're good?
We're good, yeah.
Okay, very good. So now, did we receive any cards for this?
So far this evening, we haven't received any cards, but
Okay,
at
just
this
double
point, we
checking.
could ask if there's additional.
Can we ask? Is there anyone out there who'd like to ask a question? No? Okay, let's move forward. So let's have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we're looking at the Planning Commission to recommend to move forward to the City Council the following recommendation: to adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have a motion, please?
I motion to approve.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Teresa. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we'll do that. And then to approve the coastal development permit, CDP 0423-16189, subject to the conditions of approval identified herein. May I have a motion?
Roll call. Yeah.
Okay, and it says a motion with the roll call, so.
Okay.
Now, a roll call, please?
Sure. Fa'apua,
Yes.
Paniza,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Proano.
Yes. Okay, so we'll move forward. So our next item is, Michael, you're up again. It's for use permit, UPR 423-16182, the Northeast Medical Services, NEMS, proposes a sign program for the existing office building located at 2171 Juniper Serra Boulevard. The project is exempt from CEQA, per CEQA guidelines section, existing facilities. Michael?
Thank you, Commissioner Perano. This is a request for a new sign program at 2171 Juniper Serra Boulevard. This is an existing office building for which the sign program is proposed. The site location is shown here. It's essentially on the east side of Junipero Serra, on the east side of 280, south of the new Carvana building, I guess would kind of be the best way to describe where that is. Here are some photos of adjacent land uses. In fact, the subject building's on the right side of the top photo and the Carvana building's in the center. Just to show it, again, adjacent land use. DeVita Dialysis is located to the south of the building, as is a gas station and a veterinary business. Adjacent land uses, probably more importantly with regard to a sign program, and some of the signs that could be installed on this building are residential uses to the east of the building. This is Niantic Avenue, looking southbound Niantic. So the houses on the right side, their backyards face the building, and the photo on the bottom is taken from the parking lot of the NEM's property, looking toward those houses. They're kind of hard to see there, but at elevation, these houses will look directly at the building. So the reason that a sign program is needed here is that the applicant's proposed signs that exceed 113 square feet maximum, the zoning ordinance provides for signs at a maximum 75 square feet, and then two properties that have more than one side are allowed additional square feet. However, sometimes on a large building like this and in shopping centers, you'll see another sign program tonight, it's just not enough square feet, and so a sign program is required. And so that's the case here, and the applicants made that application to the Planning Commission and the City Council. The applicants proposed a number of signs in their sign program, and we've included, of course, the sign program in your packet. The proposed signs are, and the most important signs in terms of for the Planning Commission's review, are located at the top of the building. These will be the most highly visible signs. The city staff and the applicant's architects have worked very closely actually on this application to make sure that the copy, the amount of sign, the design of the signs are all something that we could support. This is very important that we do this because for example, there's a sign program that was set in place by the Planning Commission and City Council for Pacific Plaza. And we want to make sure that every building owner is treated fairly in the amount of signs that we're allowing and the type of signs that we're allowing. And so this necessitated that we work closely in development of the sign program with them, and that did occur. The proposed signs are on the north and south facades. At the west facade, so this is facing north and south, of course, the Carvana building, the DeVita Dialysis building, the west facade facing the freeway. There are no signs that are proposed facing the residential, and that's always the case for any of these types of sign programs. We try and avoid signs immediately facing residential uses, especially from a building this tall. So that's why you don't see any east facade signs. There's also a small sign that's proposed at the first floor of the building at the pedestrian entrance. So this is the existing condition. This is the building, of course, on the left side, actually on all the three sides of the building. This is the building on the photo on the left is facing to the south. On the top right is facing north, and then facing east is looking dead on, say, from almost the sidewalk adjacent to the freeway is on the bottom right. The applicant's proposing that the building be painted this color, which is kind of a more contemporary color, gray color, and staff is supportive of that, of course. This does not require the Planning Commission's approval. This only requires the staff's approval, but we're sharing it with you as a piece of information. The applicant has proposed accent lighting, and this is something that we've talked to them about just in terms of trying to promote the building's visibility. That was something that was very important to them going into this project. The applicant had initially come up with a number of sign configurations that the city staff didn't feel that it could support, but we did want to provide a means to them achieving better visibility at night, and this is what we came up with. We're going to go over, there's another slide in this deck that shows how this is treated on other existing buildings in the Bay Area, and so it's not a new concept, lighting the first floor of each band. We do have a condition of approval that this banding, well, there's a couple of conditions related to it, that it be dimmable and that the banding that it can be turned off or not exist facing the residential. We couldn't really figure out whether we thought that the residential would like looking at the banding or not. We thought probably not. That would be their preference, so we wanted to make sure there was a way to either turn it off or dim it way down low for the residents, should they desire not to look at it. We do think it's attractive, and we do support the accent lighting. It's somewhat part of the sign program. It's not really communicating a commercial message, but it is an architectural feature we wanted to share with you. So these are the proposed signs, and we're going to go over these in a little more detail. Essentially, the applicant's proposing roof, or their parapet top signs at the top of the building. Again, the NEMS logo on the far left, the NEMS acronym, and then NEMS in Chinese characters facing north and south, and then the NEMS acronym facing east, and that's shown here. So this is actually a fairly modest proposal. There was a lot that the applicant wanted to include. It was important that they had their logo, of course, the name of the, as in terms of an acronym of the NEMS building, as well as the Chinese characters, and we worked closely with them to try and get this all to fit into the sign program, and they've been very helpful, and we hope we've been helpful to them in achieving their needs and ours. Here's a little bit more detail on the north and south facades. Again, the logo, the acronym, and then the Chinese characters on the north and south facades. This is just a blow up, but it's or a detail. This is an important detail, though. It shows that the applicants proposed what are essentially called halo illuminated letters. The light shines from the back and through a portion of them, and also it kind of makes this glow. So this is a design element that we've seen and recommended for approval, again, also at the Pacific Plaza buildings, and it's something that we wanted to see incorporated into this design, and the applicants complied with that request. This is the facade that faces west, or faces 280. Again, it's the NEMS logo, also halo illuminated and shown in the daytime and nighttime configurations at the bottom of the screen. And then this is the west facade entrance. This is facing Junipero Serra, facing west. So use permit considerations for the Planning Commission are to determine if the proposed sign program maintains the visual quality of the building and overall architecture of the building. We feel that with the proposed banding, the red banding and the red lettering, and the proposed painting that would occur on the building, we do feel that the proposed sign program does provide visual congruity between the building and the signs. So the Planning Commission's second item for determination is that the program would not negatively impact adjacent uses. As we pointed out, there's residential uses that exist to the east, and we've identified a condition of approval that makes it so that we can either dim or turn off the banding. And again, there are no lights there. We did want to cover the accent lighting detail. There's a sheet in the sign program that identifies this. And it does say all sides. We have, again, added a condition of approval that if it's going to be on all sides, it's either got to be dimmable or turned off. There's a reference panel on the right side of this illustration that shows how this banding might appear at night. And these are examples of where, and in particular, red bandings occurred on existing buildings. We do think it's something that can be attractive, and we do welcome it in terms of trying to provide visual enhancement for the NIMS building. We know that that was important to them, and we do support the accent lighting detail. We did want to share what that might appear like at night for the Planning Commission. Again, the condition of approval is that the decorative lighting bands of the facade shall be dimmable and located on the north, south, and west elevations only. We need to have that dimming indicated in building permit drawings. The project's exempt from CEQA, and we're recommending that the Planning Commission forward this sign program to the City Council with a recommendation for approval. The applicant's architect that developed the sign design is available at tonight's meeting. Johnson Wong from NEMS is also here to answer any questions about the facility or the sign program that the Planning Commission may have, and as well as his staff.
Thank you. I'm guessing being next to Carvana would just light up the place, right?
Pretty much.
Is this electrical or is this going to be solar panels to light the lighting?
This installation will be plugged into the main electrical feed
Okay.
for the
Just
property.
curious. I think it looks great, but how about any of you? Any questions?
Your Honor, Madam Chairman, the sign program that complies with Daly City sign code.
One second, your microphone. There you go.
Madam Chairman, I am fully accord with this program. The sign program that complies with Daly City sign called the DCMC Chapter 17.32. Actually, I have seen a lot of this in different cities, like San Francisco. They have it during game time. The Giants color, the city, it's beautiful. And also, I've seen the several buildings in Embarcadero. You can see it. So it's not something new. It can add luster to the city's beauty, especially in the night time. And that's why we love Paris, because Paris is all kinds of, all the buildings, they have different kinds of lights. And it really makes, it glitters to the city. It gives some more aura to the city. So to me, I am fully according to in case that all buildings here can only comply, especially the tall buildings. It will be very, I would say, very great to have that kind of program, the sign program. It adds beauty, especially if you are in the freeway, you can see it. That's Daly City to me. So I subscribe to this program, Your Honor.
It's lovely. The only thing I would just throw in is the idea of possibly having solar panels would save a lot of money. If the building's lit all the time, it's going to cost you money. And even though it's foggy some of the times here now, the solar panels will work through the fog because there is sun up there somewhere when it's foggy. That's the only thing. I think it's great. And being next to Carvana, it's so lit anyway. I think the building, I work right near your building. I go there a lot. I go to the bank there. So it's a great building. And I think it'll look even nicer in this color. I agree. And with the lights. Look forward to seeing the lights.
The building owner actually just completed a fairly large solar array installation in their parking lot. So they do have a
In the
lot
back.
of solar on the property. My understanding is that the electricity to feed this, though, is, yeah, I don't know if it's going
And
to
Your
cover
Honor, even, it's just too expensive actually to put it up, especially if it's a LED light. LED is something that's beautiful, especially it changes colors. And put this in a solar panel, it actually is free.
Yeah.
And solar panel now is what you call, that's only the solar panel is coming out with something new, the solar hydrogen, so it might, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the sources of the electricity will be free.
Yeah.
eventually.
It's a beautiful building, so we appreciate the new look.
Even the city hall here, the civic center here, let's light this up. So let's
See what
great
happens?
idea. What color
Now
would
the
we
city
choose?
has to do it.
Good idea.
Okay, very good, very good.
Add that
So,
to the CIP.
so at this time, do you have any thoughts or?
Well, to your, about the fog, Daly City is known as the fog city. And I think it will really add to some people for guidance. Look out for the building that it's, making the lights. It will help with directions, because of its height. I mean, if they have the funds to do it, why not? All we have to do is support them in what they're bringing, beautification to the city and for guidance and to any assistance to whatsoever. So I thank you for bringing that to, I hate to be the neighbor that lives behind you, because then I will see that light all the time.
Well, I think that's why he said no lights where the residents are, correct?
That's right. They may need to band all the way around, but we're gonna have it so that the banding can be turned on, that faces the residential the whole thing needs to be dimmable and the facing the residential turned off.
Yeah.
No, that's
So
great.
they could sleep, just in case. Okay, well, I think this sounds great. And at this time, do we have any comments from the public? Hearing none, I'd like to have a vote or a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion?
Okay,
I second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we move forward. Now, we recommend that it has been recommended that the Planning Commission forward to the City Council the following recommendations: to adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have a motion, please?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. And approval for the coastal development permit, CDP. Am I in the right place? No, I'm not. I'm moving down now. Sorry, down we go. Affirmative, let's see here, adopt the findings, affirmative, the environmental assessment, and, okay, approval use permit UPR for 23-16182. The sign program, subject to the conditions of approval outlined herein. And a motion?
Motion.
Okay, a roll call?
Fa'apua,
Yep.
Paniza,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Parano.
Yes. Very good. We'll move forward. On number 6, again, Michael, for the use permit UPR 016090, Tube Art Group proposes modifying the existing Westlake Shopping Center sign program to upgrade tenant and directional signs at 251 Westlake Center Drive. The project is exempt from CEQA per CEQA guidelines section, exiting facilities. So, Michael?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Perano. This is a amendment to an existing sign program that exists at Westlake Shopping Center. There's been a sign program at the center for almost 20 years now, and I think it's been modified possibly once before, and this is another amendment to it to kind of modernize the signs and take care of some signs that have been sort of deteriorating due to environmental conditions of the weather. I think we all know where Westlake Shopping Center is. Some of the adjacent land uses, this is facing north from the center's northerly entrance at John Daly Boulevard. The city's sewage treatment plant actually exists in the background here. In the foreground's a Chevron station and Burger King here. There are some residential uses that exist in the Westlake neighborhood to the northeast of the center. We thought we'd provide a slide that showed some of the historical signs of the center. But actually, this slide kind of provides some good information, because if we look at the sign, the old Westlake sign, we can see that there's actually an existing, for back in the early 80s, a reader board that existed at the sign, and it's here also in a different configuration. It looks like there was some modifications made. So even though this is a fun slide, it also is kind of informative to show that there actually has been a reader board, and we're going to talk about the importance of that. Reader boards have been something that the city's sort of dissuaded over the years, not really wanted to allow, and they're kind of coming back into use again. I think that slide was a little out of order, actually. Here are the adjacent land uses that are to the west of the center. So this is Lake Merced Boulevard, looking southbound, well, looking to the south. And there are apartments that exist to the west of the shopping center. This is the shopping center's parking garage. And of course, it's just a little closer view on that. Here's some site photos. Of course, this is looking to the southeast at the center's northerly entrance at John Daly Boulevard. So this is the sign that would be replaced, as is this sign. So there's the large pylon sign here, and then there's a smaller sign, and there are other signs that would also be replaced. This sign at Lake Merced would also be replaced. This sign is not changing in size at all. It's just the type of sign, and we'll get into that in a second. One thing to note just in this picture is that there's an existing wireless facility inside this sign. We're gonna, we forgot to put it in the staff report, but we want the applicant to provide conduit in the sign should the carrier decide that they want to go back onto the sign. It's important for the city to maintain, and the reason for this condition of approval is that it's important for the city to maintain wireless coverage for its residents. And to the extent that we can make that happen easier, we're going to do it. So a condition of approval will be added there. We've discussed this with the applicant, and they're willing to add the conduit. So these are the proposed sign program modifications. I won't go through each letter here, but they're the primary entry pylon sign is probably the biggest change the Planning Commission would see should the sign program be implemented. The height of the sign is allowable at 60 feet, so the permissible height would not increase. This sign would be 57 feet tall. It might not look like it, but it's a pretty big sign. And the sign would include an LED message center, and that's probably the biggest thing that the Planning Commission needs to take a look at here, aside from of course, the aesthetic of the proposed sign. So that's the primary entry pylon sign. The entry monument sign was that smaller sign off to the right as you enter the shopping center. This sign would be about 8 feet tall and about 129 square feet. So again, not growing a lot. There's no message center proposed. You know, this is kind of more run-of-the-mill type of a monument sign, but the design is changing. And then the entry boundary marker signs, the small pylon signs, are increasing slightly in size, and they would also be 16 feet tall. And of course, there's drawings of all of this. There's the garage sign, as it indicated, that sign that faces, I guess it would be southbound Lake Merced, is not growing in size at all. Just the type of sign is changing to an LED message center. So the copy changes. And the city's proposed, the planning division's proposed regulations and conditions of approval related to that. There are some directory kiosks that are smaller inside the center, and then there's some illuminated logos that would replace the existing W logos for Westlake Shopping Center that are increasing slightly in size. All of the sign program changes are, of course, included in your packet, and if there's any questions about those, of course, we can answer them, but these are the highlights. So this is the primary entry pylon sign. So the existing sign is shown to the right, and the proposed sign is shown to the left. The like the existing sign, all of the letters that are allocated to the tenants would all be the same color, this white sort of color. And so that's important, so that we have visual congruity. Some of our other shopping centers, we've kind of lost that, and Westlake is desiring to keep that, and the sign program would maintain that as a requirement. So blue background, white lettering. Again, a fairly big sign, but not significantly bigger than the one that's there. The biggest change is this LED message center here. And we'll combine the conversation about the LED message center when we look at the garage sign too, because we do have conditions of approval related to it. This is the entry monument sign, the sign to the right. Here's the existing, and then the new, again, all keeping the same white lettering, blue background. What's changing a little bit here is the Westlake Center, we'll call it the logo. As you can see, the old logo was here, sort of organic. This is a little more linear, a little more contemporary, but overall, pretty good proposal. The colors are a little bit, more, on the darker side, which again matches the more contemporary nature of these signs. So the city staff's supportive of the overall design. We have worked with the sign designer, the applicant, and we've also had conversations with Kimco themselves about some of the aspects of these signs. These are the entry boundary marker signs that are more internal inside the shopping center. Here's the existing one on the right, the proposed on the left. Again, just more contemporary design. This also provides a secondary location for tenants in the center to have sign presence. The signs on the left show examples of that. The major tenants, of course, Target, Burlington, Ross, et cetera. So this is the garage sign, and at this point, we'll have a conversation about the changeable copy. This is a sign that is not, again, growing in size, just the type of sign, and it's an LED message center. So whereas the sign on the left, which is existing, has a static message, meaning that the sign copy doesn't change, this copy does change and can be programmed by computer. It also has a certain glow to it, and this is not facing residential, but is at a perpendicular angle to it. So the first thing, of course, we're going to add as a condition of approval is that it be dimmable, and that's available technology with this sign. The applicant concurs with that possibility. We also want to make sure that these signs aren't used in a broader commercial sense. So advertising, for example, Hyundai cars somewhere that are for sale that aren't sold on the property would be forbidden by the conditions of approval. The city staff wants to make sure that if we approve a changeable copy, an LED message display sign here, that the sign isn't used to, generate revenue for, by using it for off-site type purchases and marketing. That isn't the intention of these signs, and the applicant has agreed to that condition of approval. The last condition of approval relates to the city's use of these signs, and in consideration of allowing a sign like this, changeable LED copy, the city staff has approached the applicant for gaining community use on a sign like this. And what we mean by community use is that the city be given a certain amount of time on the sign to advertise community-type events. So, for example, if the city is holding a recycling event, electronic recycling event, the city could approach the applicant, and this would be in a written agreement. And that's been added as a condition of approval, that the applicant enter into this written agreement prior to the issuance of a building permit. And it would be handled, the agreement would be entered into between the city manager and Kimco. And the agreement would stipulate the duration of time that the city would be allocated per day. It wouldn't, be a tremendous number of minutes, but it would be something. And the city is within its ability to do this because it's issuing a conditional use permit essentially for these signs, and does feel that if we're going to allow an LED display board, especially next to residential, if not exactly facing it, that the community should receive some benefit from this. And so that has been added as a condition of approval. The city staff has discussed this with the applicant as well as the center owner. And as far as we know, there is no objection to this. Of course, the details have to be worked out prior to the issuance of a building permit for these signs. And that would occur probably sometime in the next 6 months or so as the signs move more closer to construction and installation. So we wanted to pause on the garage sign just to talk about that briefly. The use permit considerations by the Planning Commission is that the commission needs to determine if the sign program maintains the visual quality of the shopping center and overall architecture of the center, and whether the program will not negatively impact adjacent uses. I think we've covered that, whether those two considerations can be made. We feel they do. There are conditions of approval that are listed in the Planning Commission staff report. Dimmable signs, there's a hour limitation on the garage sign, that it remains static between, this should actually say 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. It's overnight. Yes, this is a little flip on that. So that will be changed by City Council. So overnight, we don't want messages flying by. And in fact, if we receive complaints about the brightness of the sign from the adjacent residential, adjacent apartment users, the people who live in the apartments, we have the ability to dim the sign. not turn it off, but dim it. So we want to be reasonable in our approach and fair to Kimco also. So the third condition of approval relates to the ensuring that the copy on the sign is limited to products that are not just sold at Westlake Shopping Center, but they need the copy needs to relate to the way that they're being sold. It's kind of hard to put this into words, but they cannot advertise Coca-Cola in general. They can advertise that Coca-Cola is on sale at Safeway. And so, because to advertise Coca-Cola just to pick a product, not to be unfair to Coke, but that would be an off-site advertising function, and that's not the intent of these signs. And then the last condition of approval, of course, relates to city access to the sign through an agreement between Kimco and the city manager. The project's exempt from CEQA. We're recommending the city council, the planning commission recommend that the city council approve the sign program. If there's any questions of city staff, we're of course here to answer those. The applicant, Tubart, is here all the way down from Oregon, and represented from Kimco, I think. Oh, Kimco is also present. Okay, great. So if there's any questions you have about the sign program, or you can ask them any questions you want, really.
So I'd first like to say thank you. It was very thorough. It answered most of my questions. I appreciate the consideration for the housing and that it be possible, if it's going to irritate anybody and they can't sleep, that you're able to work with them. As well as, I was going to say, was we see the signage, type of signage at various other shopping centers, and you go downtown and they're huge. So, I mean, ours are much more simple, obviously, but it'll be beautiful. So I'd like to thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions? Sure.
I just have a comment. I really like the design. It gives our city like a cleaner look, more modern. I think it will attract more customers coming in. But my only concern is like, how long would like the ad would last? Maybe some people get distracted by the driver, like the drivers get distracted by the sign. But it's case by case. So, but I really like it.
Would you like to try and answer that? We have no condition of approval related to how long any particular image, how long it can stay, or how often it needs to change, but the applicant could.
Because don't we have something like that on Ceremony, and you're driving down the freeway and there's photos and things popping up in your...
Through the
Looking at that.
chair, I don't remember what that standard is, but there is a standard for the frequency. Because, you don't want the signs to like flash. So I think there's somewhere between around 5-second delay.
Yeah.
It's an 8-second.
Oh.
We want the people at home that aren't watching the Warriors game to hear you.
The intent is for it to be set up as an 8-second ad, and then there is a transition time as well of 1 second, so it doesn't flash. There's transition time as well.
Very good. Does anyone else have any questions for this gentleman who came down from Portland?
Portland,
Oh, wow.
You didn't bring any coffee?
nobody asked. Next time.
Anybody else? Are we good? Yeah, this is very nice. Well done.
Glad you liked it.
Thank you so much. We did. Okay, Michael, thank you. So at this time, we're just checking if there's any public comments. Anybody? Okay, very good. So at that, may we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion.
Good. And do I have a second? Oh, no, that's a motion and a vote.
Oh.
Let's do it.
Fa'apua,
Yes.
Paniza,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Carano.
Yes. And now we look for recommendation of the Planning Commission forward to the City Council the following recommendation. Adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
I second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And to affirm the environmental assessment and approve UPR 0223016090, the sign program subject to the conditions of approval outlined herein. May I have a motion and a roll call?
Motion.
I second.
Okay?
Palapua,
Yes.
Paniza,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Carano.
Yes. Thank you. Painless?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael, we're now moving. You must have been very busy. Yeah. Michael, we're looking at the use permit UPR 122-15498 and design review DR 722-15225. Amore Architectural Corporation representing the owner request approval to construct a new 2,480 square foot restaurant with the drive-through at the northwest corner of the St. Francis Square Shopping Center, 79 St. Francis Square. The proposed project is categorically exempt pursuant to California Environmental/Quality Act, CEQA, Guidelines, Section 15332, infill development projects.
So the applicant has requested a continuance of this item,
We just move forward?
and it would be to the 6th of June Planning Commission meeting.
To June 6th. Very good. So we're going to mosey on down to number 8?
Yes.
There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, so Michael, again, plan development, PD 1022015932, preliminary plan only for DES Architects and Engineers, proposes to demolish an existing 3-level parking garage and 5-story office building and construct a new 8-story office building with parking structure at 455 Hickey Boulevard. The applicant is requesting approval of 2 alternatives for the preliminary plan. Alternative 1 entails construction of an 8-story, 166-foot-tall help me out here, technology office building over a 3-story parking podium. The total building area would be 280,000 square feet. An additional 3-story parking structure would be constructed east of the office building. Alternative 2 would entail the construction of a 5-story, 118-foot tall medical office building with a total of 180, you have a hyphen, do you mean 180,000 square feet? Just making sure. And would be placed, I feel like you're testing me with that, and be placed within the same building footprint as the technology office. As this phase of entitlement, the Planning Commission would consider the preliminary plan to rezone from light commercial C1 commercial office CO and plan development PD8A to a new plan development zone. The project is anticipated to receive a CEQA mitigated negative declaration. And Michael, you're on. Thank you.
I think you pretty much said it all.
I think I did.
Yes, so thank you, Commissioner Perano and members of the Planning Commission. This is a preliminary plan review, just to give all of the planning commissioners a crash course on how plan development zoning works, where so there are traditional zoning districts, and there's no slide for this, but I wanted to make sure it's understood. We have a couple of new commissioners. There are traditional zoning districts such as C1 light commercial or R3 multiple family residential. Those are what we call traditional zoning districts. Properties that are over 1 acre in size qualify for what's called plan development zoning, where they can rezone to a zoning district that essentially allows zoning standards that are tailored to the construction size or use that the Planning Commission and City Council deem approvable. And that is essentially what is happening here. So this property, as a matter of fact, we can now get into the presentation. This is at 455 Hickey. This is Interstate 280. To orient the Planning Commission, I don't know if everybody knows exactly where this is. This is Hickey Boulevard. This is the subject building. This is the Kaiser building across the street. So maybe that orients people. This is the Bank of America building, 7-Eleven here, so Gellert Park is here, so this is that building there, and we have some photographs of it, of course. So this would be essentially redeveloped with a new office building, so torn down and rebuilt with a new building. Here's the existing site. This is the way the site looks from Sarah Vista, looking to the east. This is a AAA. Any of you are AAA members, been in there? Medical type building in there. And this is a view looking to the southwest as you're getting off the freeway. Have that right? Yes, at Hickey. Yes, getting off of southbound Interstate 280 onto westbound Hickey. You can see the building there. The general plan land use designations are essentially commercial. They allow this use, not a problem. There's no change to the general plan necessary to allow construction of this project. What is necessary, though, is that the zoning be changed because there are essentially 3 zoning districts that cover this site presently. There's the C1 zoning district that covers this portion of the site. There's the C, and that's light commercial. There's the CO zoning district, that's commercial office, that covers this portion of the site. And then there's PD 8A. So we're now into like PD 70 something. So PD 8A is an old one from the early 1980s, and that's when this building was approved and then built, you know, like 1984, I think. The applicant probably knows the exact year. So all of these properties need to be, well, combined into a single property if they're not already, and they need to also be in the same zoning district to allow construction of this project. And so because these properties are not already PD zoned, we need to have what's called a preliminary plan hearing. And that's what the Planning Commission and the City Council will be conducting for this project. And the preliminary plan, which is publicly noticed, just like any other hearing, all the neighbors within 300 feet of the project boundaries received notice of this proposal. What it does is it allows the Planning Commission and the City Council the opportunity to sort of get give the applicant early feedback, receive early feedback from the public as to whether, you know, exceeding the traditional zoning district's boundaries is something that the Planning Commission and City Council want to do. And that's the purpose of tonight's hearing. So it's kind of an initial look-see. There's no CEQA document that's necessary or proposed because this project will be coming back. If a preliminary plan is approved by Planning Commission and City Council, it will be coming back for the formal hearing at a later date. And at that time, conditions of approval would be issued, considered by the Commission and Council, as well as the CEQA document. And that is under development right now. We have a consultant that's working on that, and that would be coming back. The site, here's a background slide, is a 3.2 acre site, so again, greater than an acre, qualifying it for plan development zoning. Previously developed as the Ceremony Business Center in 1982. The building's currently 65 feet in height, 5 stories, 80,000 square feet, 293 parking spaces. The existing tenants are medical and commercial office uses.
Okay.
So the proposed project is that all of this would be torn down and reconstructed with a new building. And there are a couple of proposals. The applicant is going to figure out which one they are going to go with ultimately, but they are basically requesting that the city consider a couple of concepts. Both involve demolishing the building, and the first involves constructing an 8-story, 166-foot tall building, and this is 133 feet from Sarah Vista Avenue. So just a little note on that. The height is reduced at Sarah Vista because of the slope of the site. So that's important to note. It's a 280,000 square foot technology office building with a 3-level parking structure consisting of 900 parking spaces. There would be an employment center for about 1,250 people at this location under this concept. Transportation demand management plans required, as well as traffic and intersection improvements. And again, this project is undergoing CEQA evaluation right now, and any mitigation measures that would be required by the applicant insofar as traffic or any other environmental impact would be developed and recommended for Commission and Council adoption as part of the CEQA document. And again, we're anticipating that would be a mitigated negative declaration at this point in working with our environmental consultant. So there's an alternative development concept where the property, again, the buildings would be torn down, all of them, and a new 5-story, 118-foot high building, again, 85 feet from Sarah Vista Avenue, tall, 180,000 square feet medical office building with a 3-story parking structure would be constructed with, again, 900 parking spaces. This would, if this concept is ultimately the one that's constructed, it would provide employment opportunities for 600 people. Because it's a medical office, it would serve between it's anticipated between 170 and 200 patients. Also, a transportation demand management plans required, as well as any mitigation measures, including traffic mitigations. So those are the two concepts that are under consideration in this preliminary plan tonight. The required planning entitlements, so this is just the zoning we're talking about tonight. Plan development amendment and rezone, so we'd establish a new PD zone for the whole thing. The C1 and CO PD8 zoning districts would go away, be replaced by this new PD zone. Design review would be required by the Planning Commission and the City Council, so the aesthetics of the building. A lot merger, requiring that all the underlying lots be merged together. We can't issue building permits crossing property lines, so that's necessary, as well as the certification of the CEQA document would be necessary ultimately by the City Council, of course. This again is the preliminary plan review. I think we've explained that. It needs to go to the City Council for approval, of course, after the Planning Commission. This is the proposed site plan. We can get into the specifics related to this project. Again, the existing building would be torn down, and this new, under the first concept, there's an 8-story office building that would be constructed. This shows some of the adjacent uses. Of course, the Interstate 280 bounds the property on the east. North is the, I think that's at Alta Ceremony Shopping Center. And possibly most importantly is that there's a residential neighborhood that surrounds the property to the south. In terms of, overall impact, the impact would probably be the greatest of the people who live adjacent to it, honestly. The non-residential uses around it, no problem. But yeah, the residences around it would, see a much taller building than the homes that are there. And we'll see that in some of the photo sims. And this is the parking structure office building story. This is a rendering of how that building would look. The applicant's architect has developed a very contemporary type of a building. They work closely with the city staff in making sure that the building meets the city's expectations insofar as building articulation, quality materials, distinctive building elements, distinctive top-bottom architecture in this building. We're very happy with the way it looks. We believe the building ownership is also happy with the way it looks. They're proposing it, so hopefully that's the case. Lots of glass, a very attractive building, and if we were going to have an 8-story tall building, this would be a pretty good one to have built. It's our feeling. So this is a rendering, one of the renderings we have, and this would be how the building would look looking to the southwest. And this is Hickey in front of the building. This is the parking structure here and the building here. So at the outset, this project's actually been in review by the Planning Division for quite some time. There was a preliminary plan, not a preliminary plan, but a pre-application conference, that application that was made to us. And at that time, it's like an application before the application, and at that time we required that they submit renderings from the adjacent neighborhood. So we wanted to be able to communicate to people who lived in the neighborhood to the south of this, what this building is going to look like to them. And this is one of the renderings that was developed. Again, a much taller building than the homes that the residents live in, of course, but we communicated at a very early stage that the building needed to be excellent architecture, and we do believe that that has been delivered as an architectural product in this proposal. This is the building that, how the building would appear looking to the northeast from the intersection of Gillert and Sarah Vista. You can see, just for some context, some of the lower, less tall, that is, retail office buildings that are in front of it. These are not part of this property. This is the 7-Eleven that exists in front of it. So again, those are different properties from this property. They're not part of the proposal. This is a view from Hickey and Gellert. We wanted to make sure that in this concept, and this was also true when Kaiser was constructed, the city staff and the Planning Commission and City Council wanted to set an architectural standard for what was constructed when we see taller buildings in this area, and we wanted to make sure that that concept and the reason that the Kaiser building has the architectural quality that it has is one of the reasons was that we wanted to set an example. So we're using that example, and this building's done a very good job of not mimicking but complementing what's on the other side of the freeway in terms of architectural design and quality.
Michael, how tall is Kaiser?
I do not know right off the top of my head.
All of us the same.
It might be the same.
Do we
number of
have any
floors.
other eight, this is 8, right?
This is 8.
Do we have
yes.
any, I mean, Seton Medical Center's on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And the one on Juniper Serra, the one we were just looking at, I don't think it's this tall. I think it's only, what, 6?
I think so. We've approved taller buildings, but I don't know about constructed. I don't know, do you remember 88 Hillside, how many floors that is? It's not, is it 8?
No, it's not that big. On
I
Hillside,
don't, the
88?
floor counts, but they are, both DC Station and 88 Hillside are somewhere in the 100-foot height.
But how many stories? 6,
So
5?
it may be somewhere around 8. I think these are taller
I
floor
don't think
plates
it's
and
that tall. I don't think it's that tall. 88 on top of the hill?
The north piece, well, the north piece that's vacant was zoned for 110 feet, and then I think the buildings next to it are close to 100, but DC Station's about 100 feet.
So you're saying it's this tall? Because I don't
No,
know.
this is 160.
I see what you mean.
so
So
it's
one,
quite a bit taller
yeah, that's
than
what I'm saying. I mean, when we look at Daly City, unless this is what you guys are deciding you want to look at it in 50 years and surrounding, when you tear things down, you're going to be building up like this, this is awfully tall. This is awfully tall for the city of Daly City. My concern is the residents who have to live with that.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that we wanted to have a very good-looking building. And we do believe that the architect has developed that. And part of the reason for these hearings is for the residents to come and tell the Planning Commission and City Council.
Sure.
Like it, don't like it. That's why we have public hearings. But our job as the planning division is to make sure that the architectural quality is something that we can support. And we feel good sending out there into the public. And again, this project's been under consideration by the planning division staff as well, all the city departments, in fact. But we do feel the architects developed an architectural scheme that we feel is actually something that if you were a neighbor and if you were going to sort of, as you put it, live with this type of a height, that you could do so. One of the important things to remember also is that this building is a fairly job-intensive sort of a use. The city of Daly City has long suffered from having a jobs housing imbalance. We're housing rich, and we don't have the number of jobs to try and provide to the residents who live here. Most people have to commute out of the city. So we do see, an intensification of office at this location as something that we could support. So it's not just the way the building looks, it's also that it provides other things to the community. And jobs are one of the things that are important to us.
So this one's the 8. Can you show us the 5?
The 5, let's see. We don't think we have renderings of the 5 available in the presentation. I believe that the primary application is for the 8, and then it would be reduced under the
So
smaller scheme.
so the alternative that we spoke about, we don't have, there's nothing to give us an idea.
That's correct. It would be a smaller version of this, is our understanding.
So it would look lovely like this, but it'd just be a little smaller.
3 stories.
3 stories, and that, now, have you guys done the test to see about lighting and what cuts off for the residents on the other side? Because there's a lot of people. How many people live back there? Or how many houses are there?
I don't know exactly. I mean, we can take some sort of a guess if you'd like.
Well, if parking, it's going to contain 900 in that.
Yeah, but for them, I'm not worried about the number
Right, so-
of people in the building. I'm worried about the people that
It's
live
going
on
to
the other
look
side.
congested with traffic.
So just eyeballing this, I'd say that in this area, probably, what do you think, 50 houses? So 3 or 4 people per house.
Just in that 3 little section there, not including back.
Yeah, as we go deeper into the neighborhood, of course, that number's going to grow.
Right, but there's an incline, right?
Right.
Anyway, so.
Yeah.
However, my dentist is, used to be in that building, and it's such a beautiful, I hate dentists, but when sitting over there and looking at the view, it's just beautiful. But I'm afraid of heights, so just that far up. Is there a limit for the city to build up? What is the?
Well, that's the concept behind plan development zoning. So these traditional zoning districts have a 36-foot maximum height limit.
Which would be how many stories, I'm sorry?
Well, it depends on, because of the way that we measure building height, it actually can be taller than 36 because we measure building height at the midpoint of each building, and then an average is taken. But if you can think of as a site is bigger, the applicant developers are allowed essentially to have a wedding cake sort of taller building because at the 36th foot, you can angle 45 feet back. And the city council has allowed redistribution of some of that height in the past. So we do end up, even with a 36-foot tall maximum height, with taller buildings. But they're on average, the average is 36. This is not what's happening here, though. The applicant is proposing 160 square feet. They're saying that, all that zoning is going to go away and be replaced by plan development zoning. So to answer your question about the light and shadow studies, we do have those under development. If that's something that the Planning Commission would like to see in a formal proposal, we can do that. If we think about how the sun moves across the sky, I would imagine that because the building is situated here and the smaller parking structure is situated here, that the light and shadow impacts would be fairly limited to this area. But of course, we'd have to see that illustrated in some sort of, a diagram. And the applicants are here to answer any questions you have. They may have already completed these analyses. But yeah, that's not something that's, an unreasonable request.
And does wind factor in when you have a building like that tall? See, the concern is, my concern is in looking at this, is that it's awfully tall. And if it was just buildings for business and not have all those residential people, in the back there, it's a beautiful building, and maybe the plans are eventually as many as these are torn down and built up, and then all of a sudden we have a section of huge buildings. But when you go to the other cities that are surround us, you go through the one that stands out is South City. They are building everywhere you look, every street you go to, but there is a limit. You've got 4 stories, and that's it. And it's everywhere. Now, down near the airport boulevard, those are taller, but then that makes sense. It's near the freeway, it's all the other buildings. But as I recall, where the Ford dealership was, they built some really tall buildings. and it's dark and it's cold and it's windy. So I wonder if this is something we want to bring to our city. Whereas they're giving us an alternative here, and they can probably speak if they like, with a 5-story building that would be more consistent possibly with the neighborhood and wouldn't be as obtrusive and in your face for the city and for the neighborhood, because those are people. Every time I see a number there, that's a family. So I need to be concerned about that as well.
And the Planning Commission should also be aware that the applicants actually conducted a neighborhood meeting. I think it's a singular meeting at this point. They had that last Thursday. They can tell me if I'm wrong about that. So part of the reason we have public hearings, we've sent out notice to all the property owners within 300 feet of the boundaries of the project. And if they've got a problem with this sort of a concept, the way that this works is they come and tell you about it, and they can tell the city council about it also. So that's not to say that you can make a different decision from what you hear from them. We, of course, support. We know for sure that we're going to have a 36, possibly taller building height here. The property's zoned for commercial purposes, and those sorts of the zoning guarantees that sort of land use there. But yeah, that's essentially the way it is. Yeah.
Any thoughts or concern? Do we want to have the builders come up and speak? Welcome.
Hello, my name is Tom Gilman, partner with DES Architects in Redwood City, and also the owner, Charlie King, is also here as well. If you have particular questions, so we've been studying this for some time now with the client, and one of the things, and so given the variable nature of the markets, the commercial markets these days, the owner is very concerned about, want to make sure that when we get this built that there's potential tenants that are going into the building. And so the idea is to still at this point try to preserve flexibility in terms of use. And in terms of use, the idea is that the tech office would be 8-story. It requires based on the city parking requirements, about 900 cars. And another alternative would be medical office. Medical office would be 3 stories less, and it would be also, just because of the parking requirements for medical, it would be also about 900 cars. Traffic is very similar either way. At this point, we've been working, as Michael had mentioned, working with the city planning staff all the way through this. We've also worked with fire department. We've worked with storm and sewer, the public works departments. There are some, maybe at some point we could look at, maybe move back to the site plan of the building. Somewhere. Thank you. Oh, there we go. The townhouse development to the right on this drawing, which is south, had sewer lines that came through the property, sewer and sanitary lines that came through the property, but were not, in one case, there was no easement. In the other case, it was a strange location. So we've been working with Public Works to develop a plan to take care of that upstream, call it upstream, drainage issues. And so we have a plan that will run through a new easement along the very eastern side of the property and out to Hickey as it ultimately terminates. Also working with the fire department in terms of access and so on. And then in terms of the building itself, as was mentioned, when you measure the height of the building from the Hickey side, Hickey is much lower than the property, as you're probably aware. And so the building is 166 from that side. It's actually 133 from the Sierra Vista side. The other, if it were 3 stories less, it would be, let's see, I think it's 116 on the Hickey side and 82 on the Sierra Vista side. One of the other things that we took into account as we were looking at the site plan was our attempt the existing building is located approximately, that gray area is the parking structure. That's approximately where the existing building is. And one of the things we tried to do was to slide the building all the way to the northwest corner or end of the site, which is where the yellow shape is. And in doing that, we preserve the views along, say, kind of in line with Sierra Vista as it comes off of Gellert to the, call it southeast or almost east, which is San Bruno Mountain, so the top of San Bruno Mountain. And then further to the right in this diagram would be also the views out to the bay. So in trying to locate this all the way to the very end of the site, our attempt was to preserve the views to the east from that neighborhood you see just to the right in this diagram. As was mentioned, we've worked long and very hard to establish a design concept for the building itself that we feel is a very modern kind of quality. The building really, in a lot of ways, from 280 will act as a gateway to Daly City. And we think, from our opinion, we think it provides a very nice look for Daly City. So happy to answer any specific questions that you may have.
I have a question. Is there like any entrances closer to like those smaller businesses that like their parking might get taken to enter the building? Is there any parking enforcement or, I know it's too early right now, but.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
The existing site has 3 entries.
Yeah.
It has the entry off of Hickey down below. It has the entrance essentially where we show that red arrow at the curve of Sierra Vista. And it also has an entry at the extreme right end of the property where the cursor is. And those are the 3 existing entries. The one on the extreme right is no longer an entry to the project. It will be bollarded off or chained or whatever. It'll be emergency vehicles only. And so that takes a quick downward, eastward, a very quick down and then around, curves to the left, and that becomes a maintenance road for either, for the storm drain, sanitary sewer, public works will have that ability. And we've worked hard with them on the design of the garage and building to get the clearances, the heights, everything they need to satisfy their requirements. So the project itself will have the entrance off of Hickey, which we see as being the primary entrance to the project, and it will have a secondary entrance off of Sierra Vista. And the one for Hickey, as you come into the property or into the garage, you'll make a fairly quick left turn, and we have a major elevator lobby, kind of the lobby of the building that would occur within the garage, glassed-in entry, if you will, lobby, that then has elevators directly up into the building. So most users will, whether they're coming to lobby or their office on floor 5 or 6, whatever, they would come directly that way and would enter that lobby and then come up. They can, if they didn't find a space, they can continue around in the garage, around the curve into the very far right end of the garage. There's an elevator. It's a little hard to see, but it's that little, there's a little blip right at the end of the garage directly across from the yellow building. And you can, right there. So that if you're in the garage, the lower garage there, then you could come up to the surface level and then a pedestrian entrance that will go across. And then the lower right-hand corner of the building shape is the pedestrian entry. So that would be the other way that folks may enter, come to the building. But we've tried hard to keep as much traffic off of Sierra Vista as we can with what we think is we think there's going to be a great deal, as we've been working with the traffic engineer for the draft traffic report. We think that a major part of the access to this project is going to be from the freeway. But that's underway now. And actually, the traffic report, you know, they're pretty much there. And then as part of the CEQA process, then staff will be doing a peer review of that. And if they ask for additional studies, then those will be part of that process as well.
Oh, thank you for that clear explanation.
Sure.
Thank you.
Teresa, Ray, anything? You okay? Any questions? He has no questions?
Well, just an observer here. Let me say clearly that in order that the city can develop well, we have no more space for Daly City for development. What we can do is grow this vertically, which I concord, this is okay. If it is 8 floors, to me, it could make it 18 floors. I will appreciate it. Why? Because Daly City has no icon building that we can be proud of. And we can probably say this building can be a sign of growth and development, because people around will always fear of the unknown. Traffic, parking, movement of people. These are the things that we hear. But you look around us, just be pragmatic. Let's be realistic. Let's do the real talk. Look at here at South City. They have all tall buildings going to the marina. These buildings are tall, more than 12, 15 floors. And in Millbrae, and you go to San Carlos, they're doing a lot of buildings. But here in Daly City, we'd like this to be as a bedroom community, as a community that is just like that. We don't want progress, probably. But to me, as the pundits would say it, as an observer on economic development, we have to really put up a building like this. It could be called an icon for development. Not because, you know, people are against this or they are afraid of the parking. But parking always be addressed. Look at San Francisco. They have 99 floors and yet they're not worried about it. For as long as traffic management is addressed, let us do it. That's only my observation, Madam Chairman. We cannot say, oh, because of people there. No, we have to look forward. We have to look ahead of us. That is why business headhunters are avoiding Daly City, because some people will always address, oh, there is parking is problem, traffic is a problem. Did we have a problem when we created the so-called Kaiser, this outpatient building? No. Look at that. Is there traffic? Is there chaos there? None. When this Junipero Serra, a lot of people are opposing, they are saying there will be chaos. Is there chaos now? Is there a traffic now? The landmark, when they're opposing this several things, is there a chaos there in Mission Street? I don't think so. So, Madam Chairman, this is just my observation. Let us improve our city vertically. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
we're good. Thank you so much.
In addition, Madam Chairman, before I forget, you know, we always complain about the budgetary requirement. You know, it can spark economic activities here in the city if we're going to vertically grow. We cannot just rely on real estate taxes. If those people who are against this project, especially those nearby, if they are willing to increase the real property taxes by 100%, let's just avoid this building now. Those people, and those people who are opposing the projects to spark growth and development, if they're willing to spend money for the real estate property taxes, double it, let's not have any more development in the city. I will agree to that.
Well, I mean, I will interject here is that I appreciate that the developer is looking at both ends so that the wish is 8, but if there's a little pushback with the residents or with housing or with people around, that they're looking at an alternative of 5. So there's still a development. And so at this point, I think what we're looking at, Michael, is that you're asking us to say, would this be a project, either the 8 or the 5, because we're not voting on that, but that we would encourage the owner to move forward with the city to bring both ideas, and then, whatever fits best at the end of the day, and after you speak with everybody and check everywhere, it looks like they're saying, hey, we can try 8, and if that's a big eyesore or a problem, we're willing to go with 5. So it's either medical or technology. That's what it looks like, right? So if that's what we're looking at, I think we can, did we stop you with your presentation, or are we
You
all
did, but
good?
it's okay.
I just realized that, so I apologize. So do you all want to move forward and see if there's anybody else who wants to speak? And if not, we can move through encouraging the property owner to continue working with the city and to have both alternatives.
Yes, that's essentially what we're
Is that basically what we're gonna
requesting,
do?
yes.
Okay.
This is something that could be considered. It's not an approval.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, this is just a preliminary plan.
Yes, sir, it is. But we can't see anything if we don't say, show us, right?
Right, and the whole purpose for the preliminary plan is for the planning commission and the city council to express any concerns they have.
Very good. Okay, so Michael, did you want to say anything else before we move forward?
No, I think that's pretty much it. We talked about the parking.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so where are we? So why don't we first see if there's anybody in the public here who wants to speak? No? Seeing none? May we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to.
Second.
Okay, a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I am not voting on this, non-voting,
Non-voting?
non-voting, not abstain, non-voting,
Non-voting.
according to the procedure, non-voting.
Yes, sir. So we're going to go non-voting, but the rest of us is saying, let's move forward.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good.
Okay, so let us see so we'll move forward to see if the Planning Commission would like to forward this to the City Council, the following recommendation. To approve the preliminary plan, including 2 alternatives to rezone the light commercial C1 commercial office C, and that's O, right? Or is that 0?
It's a no.
It's a no, okay. And Plan Development PD 8A to a new Plan Development PD zone to allow the redevelopment of an office building and parking structure. May we have a motion for a roll call?
I motion.
Okay, roll call.
Fapua,
Yes.
Paniza,
Yes.
Sator,
Non-voting.
Proano.
Yes. So we would like to move forward. So I think we're good? Do we miss anything? Nope. So we'll see how that goes. I'd like to see, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Michael,
Well, this item is also, well,
should I start?
this item is recommended for continuation as well.
There you go. Okay.
June 6th. It's date
June
certain.
6th. So we'll have 2 to look forward to.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So at this time, do we have any public appearances, staff communications, anybody like to speak, acquisitions, vacations? Oh my goodness. Do we have anything?
I have just something.
Yes, sir.
Well, I would like to say that the 3 of us participated in the Planning Commission Academy, and we gained a lot of insight into that. And thank you very much. And at the same time, we would like to recognize also the United Pangasinans Incorporated of America for gracing the city. And the Mayor Benaventura has been gracious enough, all the department heads, first time in the city that they all participated. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, I'd like to just make a note that a longtime Broadmoor, City, Daly City, it's still Broadmoor, right? Last time I looked, Jack McCloskey, he passed away. And Jack was part of Time Realty for many years. He was in the fire department, San Francisco, I believe, though. Great person, supporter of the city of Daly City, longtime friend of all our past wonderful people that we have lost in the most recent years. And I'd just like to, if everyone is okay with that, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Jack McCloskey and all the things he's done for our city. So if we're okay with that?
Yeah, second
Okay.
motion.
So if I'd like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And before we go, Teresa, welcome,
Welcome.
welcome.
Thanks.
We didn't scare you off?
Oh, no, nothing scares me.
Yeah. That's good, because usually we don't have this many items.
Right, I was informed by the beautiful staff ahead of time that this is gonna be long. So
I thought they just didn't want me to see the Warriors live, is all. Which is why it's
Let's see who's
recorded. But I kept hearing his phone, "Di-di-di-di," and I'm like, oh, okay, what does that mean? Well, I'll find out soon enough. So I'd like to end with that, but I also like to thank all of you, the staff, and all your other staff that are not here, but that work so hard to bring us all this information and our emails and everything else you do for us. So thank you very much. So thank you,
you.
and thank you,
Thank
and
you.
thank you, and thank everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
All the best. We are adjourned.